and one bad performance. So and from there on we carry on. I think the team is in the good direction. I think we played very good football. We scored brilliant goals against Galatasaray and against Everton. Um, so against Newcastle, we didn't play great. We knew that. We were not happy with that performance. But although we stayed in the game till the final moment, with a little bit luck, even now we had two good opportunities in the end, so we could have even steal a point. So yeah, if we a little bit more determination in such a moment, I think we could have taken something with it. But still, I think we are in a good direction. We are in the ranking. Of course, we dropped, but I think we are not too far away. So we are okay.
You've mentioned previously togetherness and unity as key attributes. Do you believe that you have the buy-in required from the players to make this job, this club, successful?
Oh yes, I'm sure. But you, you can see, for instance, the comeback against Brentford, the Burnley game, the Fulham game. So every time the team is there, showed great character, um, so great determination, resilient. So yeah, we are together, and you can see you can't play such great football what we did lately if there is no unity.
Erik, is that your answer? Because there's a number of media outlets who are not here today because the club weren't given the right of reply over suggestions that some of the players are unhappy with you, some are unhappy with the training. How do you address that? Because people just don't make things up.
But they should come to us first and not go around in our back printing articles. That's not the right thing. I think we have another relationship, and then they should keep that to us forehand. We have a normal and a professional discussion and debate about it.
I mean, are you at all concerned that what is being reported, what people are being told, that there is truth behind that? Clearly, there's an issue with Jadon Sancho, which we're all aware of, and you've spoken about before. But are there issues with other players? I know what you mean about the games, but behind the scenes, are there issues?
No, there, of course, when there are always in every team players who are not or less playing, less happy, but not different as normal. And such intensive fields is you need that, and they have to they wait for the chance, and they can come. But no, there are no issues.
Erik, it's quite personal, the things that have been suggested, your tactics, your discipline. How do you respond to that? As far as you're concerned, you won't change, or are you open to the suggestions of players to maybe change certain areas?
I listen always to my players, and I give them always the opportunities to tell. And if the players have a different opinion, of course I will listen. But they haven't told me, or maybe one or two. But it's about, so in general, so the majority, they want to play like this: proactive, dynamic, brave. That is what they want, and you can see the players are behind it because of the performances against Everton, Galatasaray, and we are really improving. As you see that goal, do you think that you can make a goal like we did against Everton? If the players didn't embrace it, what do you think?
Is it things like that have happened today give a sense of, I don't know, a disorder around the club? Is that fair? Is that fair representation of this club?
So, but not in the dressing room. And I don't know what you. Of course, there are a lot of rumors about strategic review, but it's not that we get distracted from it. We are on the journey, on the route. We know we are still in transition, but we are in the wrong, or we are in the right direction. And you see it, like how we construct the team, how we develop the team, how the team is progressing, how young players coming in, and you see the potential, how they can contribute to very successful Manchester United for the future.
Thank you.
Erik, you talked about the performance against Galatasaray and not so much against Newcastle. The lack of effort, I think, has been criticised quite a lot by certain individuals. I'm sure that's something that you don't ask your players to do before they take to the field. Where was that lack of effort? Where did it come from? Because I think we could all see that certain individuals weren't tracking back, they weren't helping out their fullbacks in other positions. And surely that's something that you're not saying to your players.
So we are not robots. And if you play 3 games in 6 days, tough games, and yeah, by the end, fatigue can be an issue, can't never be an excuse, but it's there. And against Galatasaray, against Everton, we played very good. Against Newcastle, we were not happy with our performance. And we are the first to say, and the players are the first that they are so self-critical that they admit this. So we know, and we have to do better than this.
Last question in this section, Richard.
Hi, Erik. Obviously, Marcus Rashford has received lots of negative attention after the Newcastle game. How is he feeling?
How is he feeling? Everyone is disappointed if you have the result in Galatasaray and then the performance and the result in Newcastle. But if you go to Newcastle, we are not the only team who's losing there. I think they had a home record. They win all the games apart from Liverpool, where they were leading, and the opponent was downsized to 10, and then they get a turnaround. Apart from that, everyone is losing there, and but it doesn't say we want to win there. And we did everything what was in our power, but definitely our performance wasn't good enough.
No, I think it's the time. We cannot change the time. I think it's always good to play in Old Trafford because it's an amazing place, amazing stadium, fans, team, club, and yes, it's a great opportunity always to play there. But I think we are all in similar level with different situations, and I don't say that it's a good moment to go there. The most important is to be ready to compete because we're going to face a team that is going to be tough because for sure they want to win, and as we are a team that we want to keep our momentum to build from Brighton and to be high on the table. And for us, it's important. If we want to be in a different position, it's a game that we need to go there and try to win.
Spoke about the momentum, and obviously off the pitch at Chelsea now, things seem to be settled nicely. Not the case, it seems, though, at Manchester United. There's a lot of noise surrounding the club about what's going on behind the scenes.
No, I don't know. I am focused in my club, focus here. I think we need to do much better, and we need to do the thing better. I think that is a process that only I can explain, but never compare with another club. I think it's little by little. I think step by step we are building something that we believe that is going to be amazing for the future of the club. That is a period of time that always is about to settle the things and to earn the thing that we want, but never to compare with another club because I think it's not fair.
There's reports, I don't ask you to comment on them, the split in the dressing room, up to half the players not liking Erik Ten Hag. Do you feel sorry for him because you've managed the egos of the biggest names in football, Mbappe, Neymar, Messi? Could you give me some advice about how to handle that?
No. I think I am only a coach that try to do my best with my coaching staff, and we are no one to capable to give advices to my colleagues. I think they have experience, and of course, I don't want to talk about what is going on there or in another place because it's not my duty. I need to be focused because we have many things to deal with here, and no, I am very respectful, and of course, I don't want to talk about what happened in another club.
You've got a better project here in Miami because you've got so many young players who you can mould into your way of doing things. Are you glad you were linked with the United job on several occasions? Are you glad now that you didn't take it?
Again, I'm not going to talk about the another. Yes, you laugh, but you try to make me talk too much, and I made a mistake. But I'm not going to make a mistake. Look, we need to be respectful with another club. I am not the person to talk what is going on in different clubs. If you ask me if I am happy here, yes, I am happy here in this project. Of course, different to another, and of course, and we are dealing with many situations that we need to improve also, and of course, maybe if someone see the project from outside to Chelsea, maybe some people, believe that we need advices or opinion from outside. But I am so respectful with another club, and of course, we are building something here. We are working really hard, and we are 200% focused to try to evolve and develop the project that we want all together. And of course, that is my focus in to try to deliver the show for this football club.
Of course, thank you.
You're welcome.
I know it's
It's also worth adding about Newcastle as well that they have huge injuries to the squad. In terms of their starting 11, it's not too bad. It's just the fact that they played a really difficult game in Europe in midweek and then came off the back of it to play again at the weekend. They're going to be playing again in midweek. So they could be stretched very thin in terms of what they're asking the players to do at the moment. But even with that, Manchester United just don't look like they're clicking. Remember we sat here, was it 2 weeks ago, where like Man United are actually the form team in the league.
Yeah.
But they were playing teams in the bottom half. They still haven't got a point against a single team in the top half of the table.
Yeah, and what I noticed in the Newcastle game is how well coached Newcastle were, and how inadequate Man United were in trying to break it down. The pressure that Newcastle put on them, and from the start of the game, you've got Guimaraes pushing in on Kobe Mainu, stopping him. You've got Almiron pushing in on Luke Shaw and getting pressure. They're getting Dalot getting pressure, so they constantly had to kick the ball straight into Newcastle, who then got the ball and went back at them. It was a real mauling 1-0. They really were all over them, and they had no answers for it. You looked at the players. There's not enough intensity, vigor. I don't know what they're doing tactically in respect of their system, how they're playing in their system, how they're going to try and break a system down. We saw with Jurgen Klopp, he's changed it to 4-2-3-1 when it's not going quite. He didn't even change it, Ten Hag. The question in respect of blame has to lie at both doors. The players don't look like they know what they're doing now, and the manager, we're looking at tactically, it doesn't look like he knows what he's doing now.
Sure, it's very individual as well. I think when you're playing a team that's struggling, the one thing you could count on, I'm sure you had the same, right, was that you could lean on your teammates. If I'm not playing very well, I can lean on him and they'll help me get out of it. But they're all looking after themselves. So you can't really do that. So Rashford's having a tough time. He thinks, I'll lean on Bruno. But Bruno's doing his own thing. Then Bruno's having a bad time. I'll lean on Garnacho. But he's doing his own thing. So at the minute, you've got 11 individuals out there. Yes, they're good players. But when you play against a well-coached team like Newcastle, you'll get beat every single time.
With Marcus Rashford, there's been criticism of him, which I know you've been sort of reluctant to join in on at times, right? Because it feels sometimes that it's getting on the bandwagon. When you see the performances, this one against Newcastle, the one against Everton, is there evidence to support criticism of him?
Yeah, I think so. I think when I watched this game and watched it quite intently, and yes, he's still trying to take on, but like they're just, if you look at his manner, the body language. People say, "Oh, here we go, the body language again." It's just, it's how you react. And I heard Jamie Carragher say something very, very interesting about being a local player and what it means to the fans. I thought it was a fantastic point that you have to, just like he did, just like Steven Gerrard did, just like Saka at Arsenal. You know, we saw Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe a couple of years ago, literally them two young players dragging that team through, and you have that responsibility whether you like it or not. And unfortunately, watching that game and a few games, and I've seen it from Anthony Martial as well, they do seem to like, there's no fight in them.
It's definitely different as well. I think, like you say, there's a different pressure when you are local. You've carried them through a lot. You've been through this whole different era now, and you've been the player that people have looked up to. And I think the criticism in the past has focused so much off the pitch, which isn't fair at all. And I think this criticism is now about having to be a leader and having to show up to bring your teammates with you. I think Garnacho is guilty of a lot of the same things in that match as Rashford was, which was not tracking back, not picking up your runners, being too easy.
That's a young player looking at a more experienced player. And I know we're not talking about a 28, 29-year-old in Rashford, but we're talking about an experienced player flow where you've got a young player that he should be setting an example to. You look at the way Bruno acts on the pitch. Ever likely you've got a young player like Garnacho who's doing that because they haven't got anybody to pull them in line or anybody to look at as an example on how you should be playing. And this is why, as much as we can look at someone like Garnacho and say he needs to liven himself up, they need to be setting a better example for some of those young players, because this is something that's not synonymous with Man United. You know, the Man United that I used to play against was frightening. The intensity, the mentality, the strength of the togetherness,
the culture of the club.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the whole place is sort of being in disarray. And I think you look at the whole narrative of the season, they've had times where they've got results and people think, oh, okay, this is Manchester United cooking. And then they lose, and that's almost the reality of what they are, is there doesn't seem to be a collective culture, an idea, a style of play seems to have got lost as well. And then you look at, okay, I think they've been lucky in a lot of games, relied on individual moments from big players to carry them through, when the reality of the situation is that they are still a bit messy.
Very messy.
Yeah, and I just wanted to come back to those Rashford stats that we saw, because actually his numbers in many cases are up on last season.
Is that right?
Yeah, no, that is the right way around. That's why I wanted to come back to it, because he's covering more distance. He's trying more. You know, he's shooting more. They're not on target, but there's not really that much in there. And it's a couple of goals compared to 4, 1 assist compared to 2. It's not that much in it, really.
What are you say about Rashford from last season, though? A lot of his work kicked in after the World Cup, and that's where we started.
Because he hit form in that World Cup and carried it through. And he's had injury issues, but I do think he's a very form player. He needs that to carry him through. He needs to be in a good place. And when he gets out of it, it can be really hard for him to get it back.
You look at the team, and you can look at that team as a collective, and look at someone like Rashford. And when you look at Man United, a lot of their stuff comes down to they do need individuals, whether it's on the wing, whether it's Garnacho, whether it's Rashford, to actually do something, make something happen, create and then something happen, instead of it being done through building up through the team. This is why I think everybody was so excited about Kobbie Mainoo, because now we're looking at a midfield player who seems to be somebody who can manage the game, get the ball, stay on the ball so people can make moves off of him. Bruno could do stuff off of him and he can be the anchor. But what happened with him in Newcastle, which again Eddie Howe's got to take a lot of credit for, is he just got Guimaraes, go and mark him. And so that was him negated. So then what happens is that when Man United are trying to play out Kells, everybody's taken. So then they launched the ball back to Newcastle and took them on. And like I said earlier on, he never tried to change it. And I'm thinking to myself, when are you going to change something? Ten Hag, well, you've got to do something. You can't just carry on like this, hoping that somebody individually is going to pull you out of it, because it looked really, really desperate.
And obviously with Mainoo being a young, inexperienced player, he's not going to have had that experience at Premier League level to be able to deal with having someone like Bruno Guimaraes.
So that's why he needs somebody to lean on, and a more experienced player to lean on. He hasn't got that at the minute, unfortunately. I mean, he's going to be a top player. We can see that already, but you need to, at times, as a young player, to lean on the more senior players to go, listen, it's a bit more difficult. What do I do in this scenario? And they haven't got that at the minute. Everyone's trying to look after themselves, so it's a difficult place to be in. And
it's another difficult game for Manchester United coming up in this round of midweek matches in the Premier League, because Manchester United are at Old Trafford up against Chelsea on Wednesday night as part of a full programme of games that are taking place in midweek. There's some really interesting ones in there. Manchester City going to Aston Villa could be a crucial one. Big game at the bottom, and for Newcastle as well when Everton face them. Everton's desperate for points. Newcastle, of course, looking to keep pace at the top end of the table. And Tottenham looking to build on their mini resurgence following up a draw against Manchester City. They will hope with a win against West Ham in what is always a very hotly contested encounter, this one taking place at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And then, of course, there's another round of games at the weekend, which we will be reflecting on at the same time next week. For now, though, thank you very much to Darren. Thank you very much to Flo. Enjoy this week and next weekend's games in the Premier League, and we'll see you same time next week.
Well, after the draw in Paris and the win yesterday, a good few days for Newcastle United. And for Anthony Gordon, the best thing, Don, is, as you can see there, adding goals to his undoubted ability now. And those are home goals. Look who he scored them against: Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United.
4 games in a row, I think, since Shearer. I think what you're seeing from Anthony Gordon, you see a player that looks confident. He's really fit. He's staying away from injuries. He's obviously a talent. We knew the talent was there when he was playing at Everton, but they've spotted something, Newcastle, where they thought they can add to that. And I've got to say, I never expected any other result than a Newcastle win, with no bias. And I thought Newcastle trampled all over Man United. I thought in every area they were too fit, they were too strong, they wanted it more, there was more desire, they had more quality. And as Eddie Howe said there, it was 1, but it should have been 4 or 5.
So that's the Newcastle fan. What about the ex-Newcastle player? They thoroughly deserved it. There's no question about that. And you were in Paris, after the disappointment of the late equaliser in Paris, says a lot about the team as well, how they came back.
Yeah, I was in Paris myself. I was in Newcastle last night watching this live. You know, as Don rightly says, the whole first half, 0-0 half time, I couldn't believe it. Should have been a couple of goals up at half time. You think, can Man United sneak something second half, which would be an injustice in my opinion. But again, they kept going second half, and Anthony Gordon, you mentioned there at the start, what a turnaround he's had. He had a probably slow start to his Newcastle career. Went away in the summer, the under-21s England player of the tournament, come back, he's been absolutely on fire, and the fans absolutely love him. I seen him a couple of weeks ago up at the St James as well. He goes, he just loves playing for Newcastle. He says the atmosphere, the buzz around the city, the whole place is alive. And he says you can see by his performances, Mark, he's been brilliant.
Well, you know what it's like when it is alive at St James's Park, and you know what it's like when you were a boy when it was alive at St James's Park. What about the comparison, inevitably, between Anthony Gordon, who people are saying now should have a go in the England squad,
or Scotland,
and
or Scotland?
There's a